Remember the magic hand.
Boom, 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 boom.
4 men in a wormhole!
Welcome to episode 4 of 4 Men in a Wormhole. My name is Stephen Gurevitz, your host today and every day. And joining me as always, we have Tal Silverman. Tal, give us a wave.
Here's a wave.
Thank you, Tal. And Adam Leach. Adam is silent.
Good evening. Good evening.
Yes.
For our
For the
listeners on
podcast.
Spotify, Adam waved.
Yes, exactly. Adam waved. This is the audio description version for those hard of seeing. Simon,
I didn't wave. I saluted.
Oh, that's true.
I saluted.
You're right. Thanks.
Hi everyone. I was also going to salute. You've spoiled that. Now I have to do something else, but I can't think of anything. Move on. Hello.
Hi, Simon. So, as always, this is a weekly podcast, not weekly, I should say bi-weekly podcast, where we discuss all things sci-fi, and you will hear us pontificate and come up with our views and opinions on what has been going on in the world. So we will start off with always, what sci-fi have we enjoyed, which we've widened just a little bit to what sci-fi have we experienced, what things have interested us from the world of science or sci-fi. And I'd like to kick off with probably the biggest story with Adam. I believe you're going to talk about the strange monoliths that have been popping up everywhere.
I just love this. So there's these 2001 Space Odyssey style monoliths that have been appearing. I think the first one appeared in the Utah desert, and no one knows how long it had been there. So it just appeared in the desert, and it was found by some sort of rangers or some people that look up. They were counting sheep or something, and they found this monolith in a really remote part of the desert in Utah. So anyway, first one in the Utah desert, and then just as soon as that one, then people kind of tracked it down, used Google Earth to try and find out where it was, tracked out to it. There was warnings, don't go to it. Everyone thought, well, it's 2020, monoliths have started to arrive. You know, this is definitely, we're going to have some sort of invasion from alien race invasion. That didn't happen. But then one turned up in California, one turned up in Romania, and then to the most recently, and that was it. And they've all subsequently disappeared. But one turned up this week in the Isle of Wight. See that? So one turned up in the Isle of Wight in the same similar kind of design.
But I thought the Isle of Wight one, they figured out. I don't know.
Yeah, it was a copycat, wasn't it? A guy went, well, I can make one of those, and made one.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I mean, all of them were obviously, unfortunately, by people and haven't signified an alien invasion. And I think there is a group that have claimed responsibility. The Santa Fe Collective, the most famous artist collective in Santa Fe, have claimed responsibility for it. But they claimed responsibility, but no one's given them responsibility. I don't know whether it was actually them or not, but they've said it was. It just seems to be some man-made, but still, I love the idea of this kind of life imitating art and all of that.
And incidentally, if this has happened in the same week that the ex-head of the Israeli space program has revealed that we are in touch with the Galactic Federation, and that Israel and the United States have been in contact with them, and Trump was going to release the information, but supposedly backed down at the last minute, or might still.
Is this another piece of art?
No,
some kind of conceptual artwork that's
this
going
is
on.
just the ex-Israeli guy who's either losing his marbles or telling the truth and just thought, I don't care anymore. But supposedly there's a Galactic Federation in Israel, America, maybe some other countries already know and are in contact with them. But obviously we're not ready to have this information yet. So that's why
I think
I'm so ready for this information.
Well, this is it. I mean, I think this is
Simon?
This is a good year for this to happen, to be honest. I mean, whether it's being in contact with the Galactic Federation or whether it's alien invasions, I think in any other year other than 2020, everyone would have been running around the streets with their arms in the air, screaming, going, "Oh my God!" This year, though, alien monoliths and talking to the Galactic Federation, it's like, oh well, it's 2020. You're like, everything that was going to happen has pretty much happened.
Fair game.
Yeah, absolutely.
I agree with that. And not only that, I mean, if the aliens did land, obviously we would immediately hand them a face mask and ask them to stand 2 meters back
And wash their hands.
Well, no, well, if they
They had
beamed
had.
down, if they beamed down, we know they would have been cleansed.
True.
Yes,
And if they don't
that's
have, and if they don't have hands, then we don't have to worry so much.
Yeah,
There's a
so
good point.
I do have to correct though, because if I remember 2001: The Space Odyssey, it wasn't marking an invasion, was it? It was these kind of changes that happened when the monoliths were sighted. Was that right? Because they were
activated
there at key moments in the history of mankind. So maybe 2020 is a key moment in mankind.
Yeah.
For mankind.
Well, there we go. So, Adam, thank you very much for raising that wonderful subject. And Tal, I believe you want to talk about the Chinese who have decided to mine the moon.
Yes, about this picture behind me, which for the people listening on Spotify is a picture of the moon.
Tal's moon.
Another one. I'm running out of space photos that I've taken, but this is one of mine as well. But yeah. So this is really interesting actually. So there's been two kind of very close together things that are also to do with. So there's the Chinese mission, which is the Chang'e 5 moon landing, which has successfully, it actually should be landing back again now. I can't remember exactly when it was, but it took off from the moon a few days ago. Obviously collecting lunar samples, and there's also been a Japanese have sent a sample return mission to a near asteroid. It's called the mission is called the Hayabusa mission, and that actually landed back in Australia on Saturday. So that's safely brought back samples from an asteroid, and I think this is one of the most exciting things that's happened actually, because for me this is something that could really mark the next stage in our kind of space development. I think things have kind of stagnated a lot since the shuttle program kind of was shut down, and I think, you know, obviously I know SpaceX are kind of filling that hole a bit in terms of commercial space trips and all that kind of stuff, but this is the one thing I think if they get it right, it'll be amazing, because they can, you know, that's when you can start talking about things like colonizing space, and, you know, you can, you know, get mining for raw materials and all this kind of stuff, and I think until things get commercially viable in that arena, whichever way that is, I just don't think we're going to push our technology. I'm going to tie this back a little bit. I was watching the X-Men series again with the kids this last few weeks, and we were watching, I think, X2, and they've got the X-Jet, which is basically based on the old Blackbird SR-71, which is actually in X-Men Last Stand is the original SR-71. It's the original Blackbird plane modified. So for them, it's based on that. And I was sort of explaining to the kids about how that plane still holds the altitude and speed record, and it's a plane from the 1960s. With, you know, it was brought about because an American U-2 plane was shot down, and they needed something that was going to be faster and fly higher and all this sort of stuff. So the SR-71 came around 1963, I think, and I think it was 19. I think, well, it basically, I mean, it's 1976. It hit like Mach 3.2 or something. So it was kind of, you know, super quick. But what's interesting is, this is why some people say, oh, we're living in a really kind of exciting time for technology and things are developing really quickly. I've always been really negative about what we've achieved. I think we could have achieved a lot more, but the problem is you need these big events that suddenly kind of make, you know, a leap forward, like the moon landings, and if you believe in them, the moon landings and all the things. Yeah, go on, Stephen.
Clearly, we're running out of rare metals on the Earth, and also many of them are in China. And due to geopolitical issues, people don't want China to have so much control over the ability of everyone to make batteries and this, that, and the other. And the fact we can now grab stuff from asteroids and bring it back is going to excite all of the investors.
When you keep talking about this expedition to an asteroid and back, I just keep thinking of Armageddon and Bruce Willis. That's all I think about.
And some really cool music in the background.
Yeah, are we sending some civilians up into space to plant bombs onto asteroids?
But the other thing is, these aren't
they
going
were
to be
miners as well, weren't they?
Yeah, but these are not going to be people. It's all going to be robotics, which is why they're spending all this money on AI and robots, because it's the robots we're sending to the moon.
I'm not sure if we sent robots that we'd get such an emotional soundtrack from Aerosmith.
Possibly.
I don't think it would help.
You were going to dive back in.
Yeah, all I was going to say is that I think actually it's not just about bringing stuff back to Earth. I think a lot of it, in terms of our development in space, in terms of settlements possibly on Mars, possibly on the moon, all those sorts of things can't happen without raw materials. And at the moment, to get raw materials off of the Earth into orbit and maybe to Mars or wherever, or even to the moon, ridiculously expensive. Just to get something into orbit is like $2,500, I think, a kilo or something. And that's the new cost with all the SpaceX bringing it down and everything. So the fact is if they can mine stuff off Earth, then that just opens up a huge amount of possibilities, really. Just very quickly, that just ties in with just the fact that they're going to be Series 5 of The Expanse comes out in December as well, which is all about that. I won't go into it because I know Simon needs to do this thing as well, but it's all about the whole, you have the belters who work the asteroids, and then you have the earthers who kind of like, are back on Earth, and they're kind of seen as being, they feel that they're superior. And there's kind of a lot of political, social aspects of that. You've got the Martians, the guys who settled on Mars, that are a military race. So there's a lot of I like that show because it has a lot of political kind of interactions. Reminds me a bit of Deep Space Nine. It was a bit like that.
Yeah. Or Babylon 5, which we mentioned a few weeks ago. Now, I can definitely see the parallels, and I can definitely see the beginning of those communities existing. I'm not saying they're going to exist in the next 10 years or even the next 30 years, but the building blocks are now looking very real. They're looking more real than a 1950s book with a picture of a moon base on it, with no one having a clue how they're going to do it.
I was just
wondering. It's now looking very real.
I was wondering how much sci-fi is based on mining. So I was just thinking of there's a Dennis E. Taylor book. I can't remember the name of it, but it's based on people mining asteroids. There's the I've just forgotten of the Arnold Total Recall is all about the mining on Mars. I reckon there's probably loads of mining-based science fiction. The Expanse. Another one.
And this is because it goes back.
We could do a whole episode on mining-based.
I think it goes back to the point I was making, which is ultimately what drives or will drive, and that's why SpaceX are involved. What will drive progress to going to these places, even if we are going to send robots initially, clearly humans will then be able to benefit from the same technology. But what's driving it is the economics, and that way we won't need to take materials out of the Earth. And I think this will be a major change that will happen over the next 30 to 40 years. I don't think it'll be so strange for this stuff to happen. So moving on, thank you, Tal, for some of that. That was quite deep. That was quite. Just to add in something.
Thank you for some of it.
Yeah,
not all of it. Just only
the deep bits. Only the deep bits.
Only the deep bits. I was actually going to add something on there. Something else rather interesting. Talking about Mars is a British man has been firing lasers at Mars from the UK, and this is so he can, in theory, alter, I believe, some of the molecules in the atmosphere, which will, in theory, on some level, change something at ground level, which then allows him to claim that tiny bit of land as his own.
So he's terraforming Mars from his back garden in Kent.
Yes.
With a laser pointer.
With a laser pointer.
Don't point at anyone's eyes.
Yeah. But this is it. We're gonna eventually, in however many decades' time, when we get to Mars, we're gonna find these Martians. They're all gonna be blind.
Yeah.
Because which one of you was it?
They're all gonna be really pissed off. And this is all because he's testing international law. Because by doing this, he, in theory, can claim he has a part of Mars, which is very interesting. So moving on, Simon, I believe you wanted to talk about stamps.
Yeah, I mean, I've nothing deep to say really, and actually, I don't really have any sci-fi that I've been watching the last couple of weeks either. I'm ashamed to say I've been watching some non-sci-fi, but I did come across something very exciting, at least for me, on Facebook the other day. Well, Facebook gives you adverts and generally knows the kind of stuff that I like, and I didn't know that this even existed, but they're basically the Royal Mail have loads of Star Trek stamps and stamp collections, and I don't know if this is a new thing or an old thing, but I was very excited when I saw this. And if anyone is thinking of getting me a Hanukkah or Christmas present, then this is where to go.
I wasn't thinking about it.
No, I'll think about it.
Yeah, you can all think about it. I'm not talking to you guys. I know you won't. I'm talking to any of our 5 listeners.
I see. People you know even less well. The people you know really well won't buy you anything, so you're kind of...
we know that we have fans all over the world. Or one fan that travels the world, I don't know. But
no, Simon, I'm going to think about it. How you think about getting T-shirts?
Let me tell you what. I'm just browsing through their website, and there's stuff from the original series all the way up to Star Trek Discovery. I'm going to skip straight to the most expensive item, which is a Star Trek limited edition bundle frame with basically these giant prints of stamps of Kirk and Picard and Spock, I think, as well. I mean, there's some amazing stuff on there. If you like Star Trek or you like stamps, and really if you like both, Adam, you got something to say? Are you going to?
Well, I just think this is it's enlightening, and I'm very pleased you brought this up. But I think we may well be plummeting the depths of. This is a podcast about sci-fi. We're now talking about stamp collecting. It's like, is there anywhere to go?
Can I just say that once stamps were the future. Once stamps were the future. They were once sci-fi in themselves. People thought,
what if I could stick to Mars? What if you want to post letters to Mars? You might need a stamp.
Yeah.
No, exactly. I'm not criticizing. I'm not dissing the function of stamps. I'm just saying the idea of like a podcast that appeals to people that might collect stamps.
Send your answers to us on a postcard.
Rogan,
our stamp's cool. We asked the question to our one listener.
I'm going to bring this back to sci-fi to make Adam happy. I finished watching Away, which was a sci-fi series on Netflix, season 1. Firstly, before I tell you what it was about, it's very interesting in terms of people's mindset. It's called Away. And it's about a bunch of people who go to Mars. But I guess it's interesting. It's a sci-fi show which, in my opinion, didn't quite have enough sci-fi in it because it's very much about the emotional baggage of each of the crew members. So it's more of a character-driven thing rather than a sci-fi thing. But because I'm a sci-fi geek, I kept calling it Arrival because I'm far more interested in when they arrive than the fact they've left. I mean, obviously it's called Away because they're all having to deal with the issues they left behind when they left. But it's when I say there's not enough sci-fi in it, I don't mean it's there's no sci-fi. I always pretend it's not like there's no aliens, there's no shooting. It is 5 people from different nations, America, of course, Russia, China, and a guy from Britain. Actually, a guy from Africa who was raised in Britain by a Jewish mum, and he's a religious Jew. Very interesting. He's got a really complex character. Anyway, it's about them traveling to Mars, and it's their interaction with, I don't know what you call it, the control area back on Earth. And they have some mechanical issues as they go along, and there's the odd spacewalk, and so it's definitely sci-fi, and it's definitely not set now. It's definitely set in a 10 years from now type thing, or 15 years from now. I think it's good. I just think there could be more sci-fi and less emotional worry about what they left at home.
A bit more phases.
A bit more phases. I don't care if they're not shooting. I don't care if they're not shooting. I don't care if they're not shooting. I just think they could have a bit more sci-fi and less worrying about the gerbil they left at home. Or did I leave the oven on? Did I leave the oven on? That's the kind of stuff they're having to grapple with out there. Is did they close the milk and put it back in the fridge before they left for the 3-year mission?
That sounds thrilling.
At the risk of offending half the population, this does sound like sci-fi made for girls.
It is. Natalie, my wife, enjoyed it, and
There
it's
you go.
the only sci-fi she enjoys. So Simon, you've hit it on the head. And I ended up watching it with her to make her happy, rather than to make myself happy. I then said, I think you should now watch Battlestar Galactica with me. And she went, no.
I was about to say you've found some common ground, but you really
Not
haven't.
really.
You're
not
saying
really.
what you say, strong character-driven narratives. That's just for girls.
Yeah, unfortunately. So there we go. So that
I'm glad we've established that.
as we get, so 4 Men in a Wormhole, that is our quality sci-fi and science highlights of the last 2 weeks.
4 Men in a Wormhole!
So, Mr. Leach, Adam Leach, we now have the Sci-Fi Book Club discussion, and I'm going to hand over to you.
Great. So this is my feature. So
Your feature.
This is my
only
feature.
Tal gets a feature. Only Tal gets a feature.
Well, this one might be my reoccurring segment.
Segment.
This is your second feature, isn't it, Adam? Because you had one last week.
No, it wasn't one.
Wasn't it?
It wasn't a feature.
He refuses to accept that that's going to be a recurring feature, but it is. But I like this. This is your segment, Adam.
So yeah, this is sci-fi. So I thought it'd be a good idea to do like a sci-fi book club. So this could be our first week of the sci-fi book club, and I'm going to present to you 4 books. 1, 2, 3, 4 books. They've been basically just form part of my wish list. And I'm going to describe them, say why I'm interested in them, and we can talk about them and then decide which one we're going to read, and then read it, come back, discuss it. That's it. I mean, I've just basically explained the book club. I'm sure everyone gets the idea.
Grasp the concept.
Okay, grasp the concept. Right. So the first book that I want to pitch to you is The 3-Body Problem by Cixin Liu. I don't know whether I've pronounced that correctly. He is a Chinese author, and it's a Hugo and Nebula Award winning book. And there's apparently a really big, growing sci-fi community and movement in China. So I think this is quite exciting to read sci-fi from different cultures and have a different angle, something a bit new to it. It's kind of hard. It's sort of considered more hard sci-fi. That's how it's described. So it's very physics based. The 3-body problem itself is a physics problem to do with calculating trajectories of 3 bodies in space.
Simon?
Yeah. Do we need to learn Chinese before we can read this?
No, it has been translated into English, so you'll be fine. You'll be fine with that. So it's set against I think this is another intriguing part of it. It's set against the backdrop of China's Cultural Revolution. A secret military project sends signals into space to establish contact with aliens. An alien civilization on the brink of destruction captures the signal and plans to invade Earth. So it's basically a kind of first contact story, sort of Chinese author, very sort of physicsy in its problem. And I don't know whether Tom might even be aware of what the 3-body problem is.
No, I'm not actually. But there you go. That would be a short conversation. But
yeah,
no, is it?
So, it's basically to say that with Newton's laws and Newton's equations, we can plot the trajectories of 2 bodies circling around each other to take into account gravity and that kind of thing. But as soon as you add a 3rd body in, which isn't, so if you have the sun, the moon, and the Earth, it becomes a complex system and with chaotic. We can't really tell what the solution is going to be. Is my understanding. So I don't know how that relates to the story itself, but I like it that it's kind of physics based, and so that's my option 1, the 3-body problem. The second book on my list is Leviathan Wakes by James Corey, published in 2011, and it's book 1 of the Expanse series, which I think Tom mentioned earlier is a TV show, which I haven't seen. This was Hugo Award nominated as well. And it's about humanity has colonized the solar system, Mars, the moon, the asteroid belt and beyond, but the stars are still out of our reach. And it's about, I think there's a murder, there's some conspiracy. They find out and they have to work out what's going on.
I just we'll chip in because you made a comment a few weeks ago how sometimes it's better to watch the show and then read the book because then you'll be disappointed less than the other way around. I love The Expanse. I think as in the TV series, absolutely love it. Season 5 is about to start. I know that season 6 is going to be the final season on TV and then it's stopping. So I would definitely be up for this book at some time in the future because I'd be fascinated to see how the TV show compared. But I have to recommend everyone, whether they read the book or not, to definitely dip into Amazon. It was very interesting. The first series was on Netflix, got cancelled, and Jeff, who owns Amazon, my mate Jeff, he loved it so much. He just said, "Well, I'll buy it. I'll do it." And so he put it on. Tal, you want to?
I have read the books. I can't remember how many books I've read because I think there's I can't remember whether there's 4 or 5 or whatever. I don't know, but I think I've read the first 3 or 4. They were great. Interestingly, I thought the series was actually quite true to the books. Pretty good. I mean, there's obviously a lot more detail in the book, which I actually loved. I actually thought, for me, the first 2 seasons of The Expanse and those earlier books were the best. I think, without giving too many spoilers, I think at the point at which they open the gate, which is obviously pretty much only halfway through the kind of length of the entire show, it's probably like season 2. Well, it's not even, it's even before that. But right after that, I think actually the books become less interesting. I just think I really like the human story and the kind of the interaction with the aliens and everything. All the the alien thing that takes them over and stuff. I won't go again. Don't want to spoil too much, but yes. So I think they're great. They're great. So I can, if we don't do it as a book club, at one point I can lend you the books anyway.
Okay. Oh, that's cool. So yeah, I mean, basically, I put these on I was looking for a good space opera, and this is the one on that kind of came up. So the next one is one that will be familiar to everyone. Is Dune by Frank Herbert. So this is the originally published in 1965, book 1 of the Dune saga. Also Hugo and
Adam.
Yes,
it involves mining.
It involves mining for spice. Yeah, we
Expanse, Dune.
It's all about mining. I didn't notice there's such a connection between these 2 topics.
Is there a movie coming? Is there a movie coming out on this one? Did I?
There is. So the original film, there was a 1984 film directed by David Lynch, but they're reworking, and it would have come out this year, 2020. The new Denis Villeneuve. Denis Villeneuve. It's not Dennis. It's Denis Villeneuve. He directed Blade Runner and Arrival, which I think Stephen mentioned earlier. And yeah, so he's has redone.
No. The thing I watched was Away, but I was calling it Arrival.
Yeah, yes, but he actually directed Arrival.
I haven't watched Arrival. I've just watched Away.
Oh, okay, right. I've watched Blade Runner 2049 and Arrival, both good films. Got very high concept sci-fi. So
hold on, which was Arrival? Because I'm sure I have watched Arrival. What was that about?
It was about a big egg thing that kind of came from space, and it was all about the lead character was a woman who was a kind of linguist.
Yes,
and it was about her translating.
Yes, I've watched it twice.
The alien runes.
Yes, I've watched it twice. I should watch it with my wife, who's a speech therapist. But no, I thought it was excellent. Yeah, it was very good.
Yeah, that was good. So he did that. He did that movie. And anyway, so he's to do Dune. And I was really interested to put this one on because of what Stephen said before. I read this article about Dune saying Dune is where Lord of the Rings was before the films, the recent film adaptations by. Why do I always forget who did the film adaptations?
Peter Jackson.
Peter Jackson. Before the Peter Jackson, there's a loyal base of fans that know it really well and love it, but it's not quite crossed over into the mainstream. And the Jackson films really crossed over Lord of the Rings to the mainstream. This article argued, and he was saying the same is about to happen for Dune. That this is going to be Dune's moment. That we're all going to be talking about spice and those creatures that live in the sand and all that. So yes, that's the third one. The fourth one is Ready Player 2. Now I know we talked about this. I thought add this on. This is one we're all quite excited about. published this year. Simon and I both started it, so that's the 4th one. So should we go round? Stephen, what do you think? What do you want to? What takes your fancy out of that smorgasbord of?
Well, I'm gonna make a guess, and this may sound rather judgmental.
There's no right or wrong answers here.
No. This may
You have to guess the answer.
No, because it sometimes takes me time to read some things. I'm guessing that Ready Player 2 is extremely accessible because it's a relatively dumbed down book compared to the other 3 that we've talked about that are quite deep and, you know.
Do you think that? Yeah, I mean, possibly, yeah. There's a bit more kind of.
I only read dumbed down books, Stephen, so I can confirm.
Yeah,
it's accessible.
There you go. so there you go. So I'll probably go with that just so I can read it quickly over the next few weeks.
Stephen's for Ready Player 2. Tull, what takes your fancy?
I am interested in the 3-body problem. I quite like the sound of that, and I haven't read any hard sci-fi for quite a while. But I guess because I'm reading this futurist popular science book at the moment, which actually isn't that heavy going. It's actually quite easy, but because that's kind of a little bit drier, I think I need a page turner as well. So I'm quite happy to go with the Ready Player 2. I think that's a good shout actually. So
okay. Cool. And Simon, I know you've already started Ready Player 2.
Yeah, I mean, there's some interesting stuff in there. June sounds interesting, but I don't want to spoil the movie, so we'll wait for that. The Leviathan one, the one you said about the Expanse?
Leviathan Wakes, which
it sounds like it's one of many books, and it might be.
So many books, but it is a page turner, and I think it's reasonably accessible. I mean, there's a few bits that go on that you sort of think this is really weird because it is quite wacky. But actually, I found them really, really easy to read. I just thought they were just great. They're just, again, it's because it's space opera, but it's properly kind of the character development is brilliant in the books.
So, you know, my problem is I have a low attention span, and when I'm watching a TV show or reading a book, things need to grab me at the beginning. So when I started watching The Expanse, I watched it for 2 or 3 episodes and barely anything happened. And so I stopped watching it. I get a feeling that the books are going to be the same. So that one is off my list. But the 3-bodied problem does sound really interesting. I love a good alien invasion. It sounds like it might be hard work. But so I'm really interested in that. But I have started Ready Player 2. So I will continue. I mean, I haven't got very far because I'm a slow reader, but I will keep going. But we should definitely come back to the 3-bodied problem because that sounds really interesting.
Yeah. Cool. Okay. So I reckon we should. I think we should all just focus on Ready Player 2 and then come back. I agree. The 3-body problem sounds really interesting. With June, I always have this thing of reading the book first and then watching the movie and then complaining it's not as good. So I do feel that I might, in this instance, try and hold my nerve, not read the book, and just wait for the movie. Watch the movie. If I enjoy the movie, go back and then read the book.
You'll still complain about it.
Here's a question. Here's a dilemma for you. I can't remember if it was on Amazon or Netflix, but the June, because there was a June TV series just done a few years ago, and it's now available to stream in the UK.
Oh, okay.
And so, should I start watching this before the movie? I mean, I love the original movie, by the way. I got it on Blu-ray, and obviously I'm going to see the new movie. Should I in between? I
think so, because then you could just have a comparison of all 3. I didn't know there was a TV series.
Yeah, the TV series, and it's now on Amazon or Netflix, one of the others. I was flicking through the other night. So
I found the Book of June. I read it, but I mean, I would have to read it again because I think I read it about 30 years ago. I was probably about 15. I found it quite heavy going. I remember it being quite a big tome of the book and just being quite dry in places. So I think I will I'm looking forward to the film actually, and the original film again, it's slow and it's kind of, but it's it's David Lynch, isn't it? So it's all going to be a little bit off the wall, but which makes it interesting. But I'm really interested to see how they make it a blockbuster type film because I think it's got a lot of potential.
Yeah,
so
I agree.
I'm definitely watching the film before the book, I think.
Okay, so I think our answer is quite simple. Let's read Ready Player 2. Let's wait for the film for June, and let's come back and read the 3-body problem.
Agreed. Thank you, Adam, for launching the Sci-Fi Book Club.
4 men in a wormhole.
And that brings us on to our last section, feature of the podcast, which is Tull's Feature. So,
not a segment, a feature.
a feature.
So yes, who's going to win in a fight? So yeah, the usual. We're going to pit two science fiction badass people against each other. So obviously we've been discussing it a bit this last few weeks, and I'm starting to really enjoy this series. I know me and Simon, I was knocking it, but The Mandalorian, I think now the Empire's back on the scene. It is super interesting. And yeah, so I am enjoying it. So yeah, I think we'll go with Mandalorian. It's pretty cool customer.
Have we not done him before?
I don't think
No.
Okay.
No, I don't think we did.
Okay.
And obviously, he's good. He can fly a little bit. He's got his rockets. He's got his Beskar, armor and all that, which is pretty good at deflecting stuff. So he's pretty powerful. But let's pit him against. So let's go for a Cyberman. I think a Cyberman.
Yeah, from Doctor Who. The Cybermen from Doctor. What do they do apart from walk around looking menacing and metal?
Well, the Cybermen in the recent series can fly, can't they? That's the other thing as well. So in the recent series of Doctor Who, they can also fly. So they're pretty evenly matched, I think.
But do they shoot anyone? Do they have weapons? What do they do once they've flown and standing next to you? What do they do? I've never understood, because everyone's always running away from them.
Yeah.
So what do they do if they catch you up?
I don't know, Steve. They're a bit Borg-like. Don't they try and
assimilate
people into the Cyberman?
How? The Borg do a thing with wires that go into the neck. What do the Cybermen do? Or talk you to death? How do they do the assimilation?
They frighten you to death. They just appear, and you just look like, We're looking at our resident Whovian, and he can't give us an answer here. Are you Googling it right now, Simon?
I am, actually, yeah.
you had a Google glaze on your face.
Google knows.
We can't. I mean, I just remember watching Doctor Who as a kid, and the Cybermen would just always blow up. That's all they would do.
Is that because people were blowing them up rather than they were blowing?
They'd kind of break down. There'd be some kind of glitch, and
definitely. But out of all the Doctor Who baddies, it's definitely them and the Daleks are on a par, aren't they? For the most apparently scary within the context of the show. Like in terms of the ones that elicit the most fear, the Cybermen are definitely one of the most feared.
So Mandalorian.
The Cybermen, because Google does help. Weapons of the Cybermen, they have a wrist blaster and they have a gun. They have electricity. Oh no, this is just people guessing. Sorry.
So nobody knows.
It's on Did you just go to Yahoo Answers?
Yeah. No. I'm now on the official Doctor Who site.
There's nothing on there. I've checked that.
No. It says weapons used by the Cybermen. Below is a list of different weapons used by the Cybermen. So based upon in the past, the early Cybermen had two weapons built into their bodies. One was located in the head unit, and the other was located in the chest. The head unit could also be used to hypnotize and control humans. That's your assimilation. So the wheel in space, the Cybermen use mind control via the head. The invasion.
Would they be able to use their mind control on the Mandalorian? Do we think he's got his helmet?
His helmet will block it. The Cybermen, the invasion, the Cybermen used a weapon built into their chest, which was, I think, like an Iron Man firing out like energy. Revenge of the Cybermen. Cybermen were using a weapon built into their helmet. Rise of the Cybermen. The Cybermen created by Cybers Industries electrocuted anyone that refused to be upgraded. A Nightmare in Silver.
Upgrade.
Yes, a Nightmare Silver, a built-in handgun used by the advanced Cybermen. And then the Time of the Doctor, the wooden Cybermen used a flamethrower. Blimey. So essentially there were different Cybermen.
Wooden ones.
And they all used different
But that's kind of odd, isn't it? If you're wooden, you wouldn't think your weapon of choice would be fire.
You wouldn't want to use a flamethrower if you wouldn't.
Can I just ask you about the Mandalorian? Because I'm not a Star Wars buff here, but he's in some relation to Boba Fett because he's a similar kind of.
No, it's like a tribe. It's like you join the tribe of the Mandalorians.
It's not his brother. Because usually in Star Wars, people are related.
No. It's like being a Jedi.
Maybe that will happen further down the line, but no. It's
no. It's a brotherhood / sisterhood
tribe. With a set of rules and similar armor.
And Boba Fett wore Converse boots, right? Isn't there kind of That's what there was kind of a picture of.
I don't know, but
if you look in the original Return of the Jedi, he was wearing Converse boots.
Maybe, but I'm not too sure if it would help him against the Cybermen. Either way, but the Mandalorian,
rubber soles may well help against
yeah,
these.
Yes, that's a good point. But the Mandalorian definitely doesn't wear Converse boots.
Right. Okay.
So let's get down to the gritty then. So the Mandalorian rockets, gun. He hasn't got a jetpack. He's not like Boba Fett.
Yeah, he does.
Yeah,
he does.
I've seen him fly about. Yeah.
Okay, so he's got a little jetpack.
Short usage, I think. I don't think you can go very far with it or do too much. Well, I don't know, actually. I don't know.
And the Cybermen sound like they've got a lot, but it depends which model you're up against. None of them have it all.
You know, the problem with the Cybermen, like a lot of Doctor Who bad guys and aliens, is they're just so slow. Right, the Cybermen, and the Daleks to a certain extent as well. They just sort of plod along really slowly and really only catch people that are slow and stupid. And the Mandalorian is not that. You know, the Mandalorian is getting out the Cyberman's way and then blasting him with something. He's too clever to lose to the Cyberman. It's not what's going to happen.
I think
Mandalorian
his armor would protect him a bit.
His armor's going to protect him. They're not going to have the mind control thing. I don't think the wooden Cyberman with his fire is going to affect him. I mean, the thing is about the Cybermen is there's very rarely one of them though, and I think we talked about this with was it the Borg or earlier on I think where okay, so I think the Mandalorian would almost certainly beat one Cyberman. But they're never on their own, and there's always thousands.
But the Mandalorian,
yeah, that's true.
But on that basis, the Mandalorian may get his brothers and sisters to join in.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah. So then it would be one tribe versus the other tribe.
I kind of agree with Simon here. I reckon anyone that's just not entirely stupid could get away from the Cybermen.
All right. So let's.
Doctor Who evaded the Cybermen mostly by running away.
Yeah.
Yes. So I think I know what the answer is, but let's go round the table, as it were. Simon, who do you say?
The Mandalorian, definitely.
Adam?
Hands down, the Mandalorian.
And Tal?
I would definitely say the Mandalorian, yes.
Well, on that bombshell, ladies and gentlemen, we believe the Mandalorian is going to beat the Cybermen, shock horror, and there's a fact. We've now, I believe we've looked at this and studied this. We can declare this is a fact. This is a moment which people remember for a long time. So with all of that, I think we can bring episode 4 to a close. Tal Silverman, thank you very much.
Cheerio.
Adam Leach, thank you for joining us.
Bye for now.
Simon Cohen, it's been emotional.
You seeing it?
And this is me, Stephen Gurvitz, your host, thanking you for watching 4 Men in a Wormhole.
4 Men in a Wormhole!